Oh, hey everyone. Welcome to Alpha for Everyone. Brendan will be joining us shortly. Welcome to all Gothers filtering in. It is a bright sunny day here, and my blinds are not sufficiently filtering that glare in. Hey Blue, welcome to Alpha for Everything. Hey Osiris, great to hear from you. Great to see you as always. Super active in the community, super supportive across all of our products. Always appreciate it. If you're interested or have time, drop in the chat where you're tuning in from. What time is it? What country? If you're happy to divulge that information. Some of you may be strict degens wanting to keep it anonymous. Welcome everyone. Great to see the numbers flowing in. Crypto, FCB, Switzerland, Germany, 8 p.m. We have the Swiss in the house. We have the Germans in the house. Ecuador. Hey, Brendan. Just getting a handle on where some of our community are from. Amsterdam,
Oh,
Ecuador, Germany, Switzerland.
shit.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, sorry, I had to run and get my glasses. I'm realizing that the vibe coding trap is real. I don't even want to call it vibe coding anymore because vibe coding is what people do that don't know what they're doing when it comes to coding.
That's me.
Exponent exponent no, that's not true. Exponential coding, I think I'm going to call it. Um And yeah, I somehow need to quantify the amount of lines of code that I've written with my cyborg agent, and then also the amount of time I've spent looking at a screen. But I increasingly need to wear my screen glasses, and increasingly I'm wearing clothing like this because all I do is go from my computer to potentially the gym, and then to bed, and then back again in this
Yeah.
continuous Groundhog Day loop, which I love. But it's apologies for my presentation today.
Yeah. This is slightly off topic, but I want to keep it somewhat casual, Brendan.
Yeah.
When it comes to development, I think I think the audience would be really interested to know what has transpired in the last 2 weeks that has allowed you to I don't want to undersell it 10x 20x 30x the output. And for the audience who may be interested in development here, what advice would you give them based on what you're building for Gopher and like the speed you've been able to execute on? Like, could you give us just a little taster on like what you're taking advantage of and like what the monumental shift you've seen in the last week?
Yeah, so this is gonna be my humble flex, and this is about
Humble,
as
humble.
as flexy as I'll get. I started coding with AI almost 3 years ago. This April it'll be 3 years, and there were definitely other people doing it at the time. You were kind of copy and pasting stuff from GPT 3.5 into VS Code or whatever IDE you're using or whatever terminal you're using, whether it be um, VS Code or anything else, and that enabled me to do things that I previously couldn't do, or to solve problems that I previously couldn't. And then I was one of the first people to use Cursor. Like I think I found Cursor when it was still free. No, you had to bring an API key, and you could use it. And it was like a fork of VS Code, and kind of had a sidebar that you could copy and paste on the sidebar. Like it was like a chat with your code. So rather than copy and pasting from a browser to your code, you kind of had them side by side. And then that became agents. And from where we were like almost 3 years ago to now, I kind of quantified it with someone, and I'm kind of blabbing on about this in a lot of channels, whether it be our Telegram and others, because yes, we're here to like do alpha when it comes to crypto and kind of drop alpha and kind of cover what's going on, but also so much of our lives over the next year is going to be year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years is going to be defined by this technology. That it's interesting to cover it, and I can now produce the same amount of code in a day that probably took a 2 months to do last year. And the thing that's changed is a couple of things. And I'd say this applies to how we're building stuff at Gopher as well. The speed at which you iterate and the speed at which you can learn and understand how to build tools around the LLM, like the brain, is exponentially increased by those tools. So every iteration of the tool makes the next iteration bigger and faster. Humans have a really tough time comprehending exponential growth. So, like, the first 2.5 years of what I'm talking about was like step, 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 step. And at the time, those steps were like this. And then you get onto this part of the curve, which is where we are now, and all of a sudden, the 2.5 years kind of feels flat-ish. Like, there was a huge amount of progress, but like we now don't realize there was a huge amount of progress. And now we're taking this huge step up, and that huge step is coming from the fact that you know I I I saw a post yesterday where Cursor had built a completely new browser in a
Yeah, I saw
week.
that.
Yeah, so they created a JavaScript virtual machine in a week. It's not perfect, but they had over 100 agents building it that were orchestrated and governed by their developers. And okay, they did that as a demo. Now imagine all the stuff they're not telling us that they're doing to their own product, and then imagine what Anthropic's doing, and imagine what GPT. You got to think like they all have the best stuff that they haven't released, and why have they not released it? Because it gives other people an advantage, and they want to keep the advantage for as long as possible. And like a lot of the tooling and what we're going to demo today and talk about today is pretty similar. Like um, it is the result of iterations getting much, much faster. So like the models have got better, but also like the tooling around the models have got better. And the understanding that we all have around how we can actually use the model has increased from like a human being perspective. And we're then able to transfer that knowledge to the model. So the model can now do more of that. And we get this kind of really crazy iteration. And like, it's exactly what we're doing with like the strategy builder. Like I've been bogged down this week with the strategy builder, getting it to the point where it is a really easy to use product that's stable, that you can run on your computer. And like, if I had built this or if the team had built this, maybe even like 3 months ago, it could have taken 2 months, and it's taken since the last episode. You'll now see it. It was all running in like in a terminal, and now it's a complete app that you can all use, and anyone will be able to use it, and that's in 7 days, while running a business and doing other stuff, which is just crazy. Anyways, why don't we get into it, Zach? Oh, you're on mute. Great to see people rolling in. Welcome, welcome. Happy
Let's get into
Thursday.
that. Thanks for that slight detour. I think it's just really interesting for people to know, um, not just what we're building, but how we're building it, because I know there's builders within that community. But yes, let's get to the agenda at hand with everyone here. Brendan has a very exciting product demo to take us through. I've seen a sneak peek. I'm kind of buzzing and shaking at what I witnessed and what I saw and the implications of it for institutional traders and day traders and everyone else in between, in terms of what kind of tools that's going to provide to those individuals. That is the highlight of what we're going to go through today. At the upfront, I'd like to address earlier this week. Time goes fast. I believe it was earlier this week.
Yeah, it was.
We
Yeah,
update.
crazy.
We provided an update to our TGE schedule, pulling back on our previously communicated date of TG happening in Q1 of this year, and providing and more broadly explaining that we are looking at specific milestones that we want to reach prior to that TGE date being announced. That understandably created a lot of questions within the community, Brendan and I have spent a long time looking at those questions within Discord and Telegram, and have produced a very comprehensive FAQ document that will hopefully answer all the questions that we've seen. And we'll also be on the lookout to add to that document as any new questions arise. That document covers things like why the schedule was changed, any conditions or requirements for holders, how it affects massa holders, and also answering questions around token utility, ecosystem integration, and Galaxy airdrops, developer roadmap. So we've really taken a look at all the questions that have come in, and I feel really confident and happy to provide this in-depth FAQ that should answer everything and any concerns that anyone within the community may have. What is happening later today is after this Alpha for Everyone session and Brendan's demo, I will be adding that FAQ as an addendum to the January update, so everyone can take a look at it, go through it, and if you have any additional questions from outside of what's answered, drop those in the comments or hit us up in the Telegram, and I will certainly add to those.
Yep.
So hopefully this is going to provide complete clarity and context. There are obviously some things from a legal perspective as it relates to listing and exchanges that we can't divulge at this time. So please be patient there. But I'm really hopeful this provides a complete transparency and a view and answers everyone's questions. I don't know if you want to add anything there, Brendan.
Yeah, I'm going to add one thing. So thank you, Zach. There is a level of like, I think, how do I put this? When we try and do true openness and transparency, which is this is going to be a continued positioning for this. Some of it is going to sound good, some of it's going to sound bad. Like the reality of getting the truth is the truth doesn't always sound great. I'm not saying there's anything in here that sounds that way. It's just this is more of a philosophical point that I'm making. So, we're putting our egos to one side, and we know that, some of the things that the foundation board makes as a decision, because there is a board of a foundation here that is governing, the best interests of token holders, that those decisions go through a process internally before they reach the public. So, radical transparency going forward, with a caveat that there are certain things that we may not be able to disclose just for legal reasons. And we will make that clear when that is the case. Also, your feedback and your input is what's most valuable. And what you'll notice in these FAQs is there is a fair amount of detail around where the community and governance comes into these decisions going forward. In order for this to be effective in the long term, participation and feedback is critical. So all of the input you guys have given, all of the feedback you've given is amazing. It's sort of overwhelmingly good. There is no negative feedback. There is only feedback that we can act on in a positive way. So please keep the feedback coming. It makes us better. It makes us stronger. If we've missed anything, please let us know. If there's a question that isn't answered in a way that you feel is comprehensive, please let us know. And then respect when we say that maybe there's a question we cannot get into. And trust us that there is good reason for that. We're not just saying it. And we'll also be honest when we don't know the answer to that question. There have been several podcasts I was on last year where I was asked specific questions, and rather than try and explain our way out of those, I've simply said we don't know. And there are some things that we don't know because we don't know everything. We only have the information that we have to hand at this moment in time. And I'm really excited to share the FAQ with you and future FAQs that we do as we move forward. And just thank you all for being a very, very, very engaged community. But that's it, Zach. Before we go on, I want to touch on some interesting news that Zach shared with me just before we got on here, which, as I'm sure many of you have seen and said, info-fi is dead. And because this is alpha for everyone, we have to pick up on these things, right? Like, we really should kind of spend 30 seconds just talking about this. Nikita, who is I don't know, what is he at now? Head product officer, chief product officer at Twitter or X?
I think he is the head honcho, the absolute top, I believe.
Mm. Shows how under the rock I am. X has, disconnected the likes of Kaito and other platforms in an effort to crack down on AI slop and spam. So this is pretty crazy. Like, InfoFi is, I think, dead. Does anyone in the chat have any comments? Like, how do people feel about this announcement? Like, I'm sure there are those of you out there that are deep in the trenches with this and probably not happy about it. I'm sure there are people that are happy about it. But it'd be interesting to know what you think, and do take a look at it.
Yeah. Do you know what? I know we've worked within those platforms, Brendan, so aware that some of our community may have found us through those platforms. So
Yep.
that's like an interesting dichotomy for us. What what I am what this does signal to me is moving in a direction of utility.
Yeah.
And many of the reasons, as you'll see, as the community will see within the FAQ around actually goes back to our decision in and around TGE, which is proving utility, revenue, and users. That this change actually makes it more easy for projects who are operating like us to be seen and heard now. Which
It's
I
a great
think,
perspective.
which for everyone on this call is, I mean, there's going to be a lot of confusion, given that maybe a lot of people on the call have utilized and have benefited from those platforms, but just think now there is no hiding through these gamified metrics, and it will be easier for projects who have actually built something to be seen and heard, which I am
Yeah,
excited about, and I do think is a positive,
absolutely.
a positive coming out of this. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like these and short tokens related to Sorry, that's a good question. It's a good question. Yeah, lots of ideas, lots of good things to build. I think you'll see when I demo the product today, like we're really going to kind of move in the direction where we're going to have like people starting to build within the product. So, the way that we scale what we've built here is, maybe that is a product that a developer can build, like a plugin to the agent that has signal, like a tool that the agent can use that has signal related to, events like this. So you'll be able to go into a section of the app that we're going to show you today, and you'll see a marketplace of strategies, and you'll see a marketplace of tools or capabilities that the agent will have, and kind of walk through what the architecture looks like. But yeah, it's mental. Like I just shared a post where Noise on Base like literally closed a $7.1 million raise yesterday to do InfoFi, and like 24 hours later, they're gonna have to completely change their business. Like,
Wow.
yeah, absolutely crazy. Yeah, 7.1 million. Like, what makes me so like gobsmacked is like how these projects are still getting funded. Yeah, I just don't know. I don't know. I don't know. It's yeah. I'm just looking at the feed now, and stay safe out there, everybody that's in InfoFi. Please stay safe, because it's going to be a lot of volatility. So be really careful. Be really, 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 really careful. And my advice, which is what our platform would probably tell you, is to wait and don't trade these crazy volatile markets. Okay, so lots coming up. Like, we're going to dive into the product here. Great to see like the couple of hundred people that are coming in. That's awesome. Welcome, welcome. If you're still here, you are making it through. The market right now is very challenging for everybody. That's like macro market. Uh, a lot of liquidity is in silver and gold, and there is a massive commodities bubble going on right now. So if you're here, you're surviving, and it's amazing that you're surviving. So stick around, and going through these cycles means you're going to be rewarded. Okie dokie. So dark mode is coming. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger here. This will be updated from BART to Gopher logo up here. We're not rebranding to BART, but we will be launching as like the meme BART. And it'll be backtesting adaptable real-time trading strategy is what it kind of stands for. We kind of shifted that and made it a little bit more, made it more of a mouthful and made it more weird and out there. So I'm sure it won't stick, but if it does stick, cool. It'd be nice to see a BART meme floating around for this. So as you guys know, we have the web app. The web app will continue to be developed.
Brendan,
As I can, yeah, go on.
could I ask you to just take one step higher
Yeah,
and explain before you get into the weeds of the actual application, the genesis, and also for those on here who may not know what backtesting within the context we're talking about means.
yeah, of course. So rewinding back to September, we started to productize what I'd already been doing, which is copy and pasting charts into Gemini to do trade analysis. Realized that the objective view that the LLM had on the market was very good for measuring risk, detecting trends, and positioning oneself in high volatility where emotion is hard to control. And for an LLM, emotion is not hard to control. For a computer, emotion is not hard to control. They are typically emotionless unless you instruct them to be emotional, and they're typically risk adverse unless you encourage them to be risk on. This evolved into an interface or a web UI where you could and all should be using our trade analyst to do your trades. You can apply it to any market that's listed on TradingView: gold, silver, stocks, meme coins. If they're on TradingView, you can use it to analyze those assets. Just a reminder for everyone, yeah, should be shilling my own product, shouldn't I? Sorry for those of you that have seen us do this 100 times. Bear with us. There is a bug here on the update, which we're going to fix in the next couple of days. But yeah, you can see here that this is how you can trade. So you can see trades here that I have done. You know, this was 68 days ago. Actually, this is when I was like testing pretty heavily. Shows how deep I've gone into coding over the last 2 months because I haven't even had time to trade. Although I did do one trade on here, and it's not updated because I think I need to refresh this. And you'll see, interesting, it's not updated my close position yesterday. That might be an edge case. But you can use this to analyze any assets and get trade analytics, or if like we want to look at silver, we can look at silver right now. It's relevant for people, isn't it? So silver up here, and we can ask like what is the best intraday trade on silver, or we can ask what is the best swing trade on silver, and it will give us an analysis. I would imagine the model is to be quite cautious here for silver because it's so overextended. It will view the market as overbought, and I would guess that it's encouraging. It's either going to be super bullish, saying there's going to be continuation to $100, or it's going to be signaling caution. But we'll see when it loads in a minute. It takes a little bit of time for it to process, and that's the fastest that LLMs can kind of process this sort of data right now. We move from that to then thinking about what if we automated this. If we gave this agent here capital, what could it do to analyze the market and then trade for you? So every step, we're thinking about ways in which we can remove the user, so as this can be done while you sleep. So trading while you sleep. So yeah, you want volume confirmation, and it is What's it recommending? It may not recommend anything right now. Market is strong. Yeah, trade along on continuation breakouts. That's intraday. Like we could look at like a positional analysis here to think like if we wanted to accumulate silver in the long term, we could do that. So there's lots of ways in which you can use this tool, and you should be using it on a daily basis. You should be using this to look at your trades. You should be looking at it to think about your entries, your exits, and really getting rid of all the noise. Like the biggest issue you have with like AI today is the amount of noise that's out there everywhere. Honestly, the death of InfoFi is going to cut back on the noise, which I think is a huge positive. Um, you'll actually see what people are really doing and the truth of it. Um, and this got us to agents, which a lot of you will have used. And agents have further unlocked this. And what is backtesting? Backtesting is like, it's like an art, not a science. I would say that you have to take it with a bit of a grain of salt because you can end up overfitting a test to a market, and with overfitting, get overconfidence with your results. But it's a way in which you can take an asset with data. In this example, which I'm going to show you, we're going to take Zcash. There's 213 assets that are listed in here. Um, for all of you meme dealers out there, there are memes in here, but we're not going to look at memes right now. We're going to look at Zcash. Um, this is connected to a local database. We have one thing to ship so as we can release this to you, which is a cloud database connection for you all. That's something I've got to work on today with the team, and then we can release. But I'm just going to do a back test over a very short period of time so I can demonstrate how the product looks. So we're going to do it from like the 22nd to the 23rd of December. It's going to warn me that I've got really insufficient data to do this test. It's not statistically significant. And the database connection we're going to have in the cloud will probably start the database around the 17th of December, I think. And it will always contain the most up-to-date data on these 213 assets that you can analyze. So that'll be kept up to date in real time. And I'm going to go through and show you how to do this. So before I do that, I'm going to take a step back. This application allows you to backtest an evolutionary strategy for trading crypto using AI. We are going to release today a in-depth article about what we've built here and sort of the state of the art of this particular methodology. I'm not going to get into the weeds of how it works, what the thinking is, what the work is. We're going to share that so as you can read it. It's going to be a very in-depth article highlighting all the work we've done, how many tests we've run, and kind of really giving you an idea of like exactly how it works. So for those that are really technical, you can get into that. It'll be the first of many research pieces that we put out that is centered around this like multi-agent coordination for solving hard problems that would take humans thousands of hours to do. And you should view this, and honestly, like all of our products, as your personal quant that never sleeps. You can now have your own individual quant or your own army of quants that are doing this research for you. And really like every quant that you deploy can have a different set of capabilities, and you'll see at some point over the next 2 or 3 weeks as we update this, there'll be a capabilities tab where you can add different capabilities. So maybe that capability will be the example that Osiris got, which is like news feeds from reputable outlets, and you'll be able to include that into your agent who's kind of tracking these things, and it can adapt your trading strategy based on the news, or it can notify you based on the news. And it's always having this like forever on, never sleeping quant that's at your fingertips. And that's what Gopher is really now kind of transforming into. I'm going to get into the weeds of how you get set up. First thing you'll do when you open this, you're going to have to configure your settings. We will have a guide for this. We're releasing this through GitHub, and then we'll be releasing it through the Apple App Store. but the Apple App Store takes a little bit longer for Apple to approve it. First, it'll be shipped through GitHub, then you'll be able to download it through Apple App Store. We're also going to be releasing a Windows version after the weekend. So today it'll be available on Mac only. After the weekend, it will be available on Windows for those Windows users out there. You'll be able to run it completely locally. Now, when you come into your settings, this is for our development purposes. You'll have two options. You'll put like our cloud database in here, or you can set up your own local database. And if you set up your own local database, you can have whatever assets you want in here. Like if you want a database with stocks, you can create a database for stocks and you can use the product with stocks. So we're really building this as like a flexible tool that becomes a platform for all of your quantitative trading activities. You're then going to need to get an inference key. If I was to tell you how much money we spent on inference in December, it would probably scare you. It was tens of billions of tokens that went through the platform. We'll be highlighting how many tokens have gone through to prove out what our models are in the post that I was telling you about. So in the first release, you'll bring your own API key. You can either use OpenRouter. We would always recommend using OpenRouter or OpenAI. In future, you'll be able to get these credits through us. So you'll have an option. You either bring your own key, or you'll be able to purchase them through the Gopher interface. This is exactly how Cursor works. So we're using the playbook that Cursor has done really well for the last 2 years. Additionally, you can use Llama, which is a local LLM. You can see that there's a bunch of different models here that I've got locally. And you'll be able to configure a model that uses Llama to run this with a local model. So you can run all of your trading strategies and agents against your own local and free inference. So that creates a almost zero, other than your hardware, barrier to entry. And as models get better, and as we start developing fine-tuned models, you'll be able to use any of these open source models to power your trading activities, your quantitative discovery with Gopher. And what this means is that in the long term, if you're guarding or protecting a really, really, really valuable trading strategy, you own it. It can, in theory, it can never leave your local machine. This also sets us up nicely for live trading, where you'll be able to bring your private key and you'll put it into your settings, and your keys, your crypto, right? So it means that it's never going into the cloud. You have it in a fully decentralized way, and it gives you access to these tools in a way where no one else has control over them, and you are the only one that controls it. Within the application, there are two agents that run. There is a coordinator, which is essentially what I do a lot of my time with the agents that are building product. I've gone from having one agent building product to having two, to now probably having 4 to 8 building. And I'm even going to have more screens where I work, because I want multiple agents on multiple screens, all working in coordination. So the primary LLM coordinates. Now, typically, I use Qwen 3 Max on OpenRouter, but over the last month, we've hit the limits with OpenRouter and their providers. So you can actually add any model here, and if you go to OpenRouter, all you do is you just copy the model here. You can put the model ID in here. DeepSeek XXX. Provider is OpenRouter. So this is DeepSeek Chat 3.1. And you can see that the model is now added here. I can run a test, and you can see that it's successfully connected. Awesome. So that model is now available. I can now come up here and I can use the model in my testing. Now, what this does, it unlocks an insane amount of possibility, because when you start playing with this, you will start to see and feel that every model behaves differently. So depending on like what model you set, depending on what prompt you set, depending on the time frames you set, the risk management configurations you do, the LLM context, the time frames, the target or the goal that you give the agent. Like maybe you're going to give it a goal that is generate returns over 5% with a win rate over 50% and a Sharpe of 1, for example. Has to be a Sharpe ratio of over 1. The agent will continue to iterate through these tests until it finds a strategy that meets those criteria. So this is your kind of absolute powerhouse configuration engine for building your own strategy. Like, we kind of have an advantage as a team because we know what strategies work pretty well, and we're going to give you a bit of a leg up by giving you default settings that typically work well, and I'll show you those in a minute. So this is how you kind of configure your models. In trading, you have like minimum coverage. This is set at 65%. You want this to be 100. This is just like an easy configuration for us to test. And then like these are your default time frames, and like you can put in a default strategy from like I am a swing trader or I am a scalp trader. I would honestly, like, when you start off, leave this blank, because the orchestration agent, it's that agent's job to create the initial strategy, that the back testing agent then executes the strategy. So every agent in this ecosystem or in this relationship is doing a very focused thing. The orchestration agent's job is to ensure that the trading agent does the work. The orchestration agent then measures the work. The orchestration agent then takes the work and builds a new strategy and gives it back to the backtesting agent to execute again. And the orchestration agent then measures and repeats that whole process over and over and over and over again until finally it finds a strategy that reaches a certain criteria. And then all of these are just like certain configurations which leave them as defaults right now. As you start getting into the product, you'll know how to configure these things. But my point here is this is insanely configurable. To be perfectly frank, it's probably too configurable for a lot of people starting out, which is why you're going to do things like use default settings. Or when you have a preset that you like I want to do 1 minute, 5 minute, 15 minute for Zcash, and I am reviewing every 1 minute the candles, or I'm reviewing every 5 minutes the candles. I'm actually going to do it every 4 hours because I want time to pass quickly in the demo. So this evaluation interval is like, how often is the agent looking at the market? We can have the agent look at the market every minute. We can have the agent look at the market every 5 minutes. The more it looks at the market, the more inference it costs, the more inference it uses. And I'm going to show you something really quickly. I'll show it at the end. I'm not going to get distracted. Strategy prompt. If you don't define a strategy prompt here, like this is optional, the agent that is managing the loop, the orchestration agent, will define the prompt. It will define the prompt by taking a look at the market and making an assessment of the market. And again, I'll show you in a minute it actually doing that. You'll look at the market and say, like, oh, the market is ranging. Oh, the market is trending. It will look at the current view in the same way that like you would. Like if I go to this, like we did this with silver, right? We looked at silver and we're like, oh, Silver is pushing up against psychological resistance at 100. It has to push out and break above 100 and close to have then continuation, and we're going into price discovery. So I've just looked at this and created a mental model for how I should approach the market and what my strategy should be. This is what the agent does here. Okay. Next settings, iterations and coverage and runs. When you do this, you'll see I'm going to click coverage here, Zcash, 22nd to the 23rd. It has 100% coverage, which means it's got 100% of the data through that period in the 1 minute, the 5 minute, the 15 minute, the 30 minute, the 1 hour, the 4 hour, the 8 hour, the 1 day, and the 1 week timeframes. So for every single time frame here, it has 100% of the data for Zcash. Also, the same thing for BTC as well. But we're going to go back to Zcash right now. Check coverage. Iterations. This is the number of times that an agent will run a strategy iteration. So this is where it starts getting really abstract, and bear with me. In an iteration, an agent can run 10 backtests. So when you look at this setting here, max tool calls per iteration, if an agent decides that it wants to, it can run up to 10 backtests. If it decides it just wants to run one backtest in an iteration, it will just run one backtest. It does this because it creates a prompt and it subtly creates a strategy and it subtly changes the strategy in an iteration. Once it exits that iteration, it goes on to the next iteration. It does this over and over again, up to a maximum number of 50 iterations. So over the course of 50 iterations, the agent might test 500 different strategies. Now, imagine how long this might take you to do this yourself. Like weeks, months, I don't fucking know, like a long time. This allows you to do this in hours. And you'll see in a minute, it'll give you a time estimate of how long it's going to take once you get it running. As it goes through iterations, the orchestrator looks at every iteration and identifies the winning components of each iteration. And the more iterations that go on, the more information the orchestrator has to make the next iteration better. It might say, oh, we were trading Bitcoin using this strategy. Zcash looks like Bitcoin. Maybe we can apply learnings from Bitcoin to Zcash, or maybe we can apply it to Ethereum. You're probably starting to see that this is the way that human beings think. Like, we do something over and over again. We learn, we retain what works, we reject what doesn't work, and we carry it forward. It's called, this is an evolutionary loop. Lots to take in here. Risk management. This is for the simulation wallet that the backtesting uses. So we're limiting here in the defaults at 2% risk per trade. The agent is going to use 10x leverage. It's going to start off with a $10,000 balance. It's going to use stop losses of 0.5%. It's got these target risk rewards that you can change, and it will use up to 25% margin in positions that it accumulates. So these are all like parameters that you can tune that are going to match what you may do, what your risk management preferences are when it comes to trading. And your trading is only as good as your risk management. If not, your risk management is what is key to making you a good trader. So you can experiment here, you can put in your own kind of risk strategies, but its default configuration is conservative. We then get into defining some advanced features, and these are all the defaults. I would want to use Qwen3 Max, but I've been rate limited because we've used it so much. And we now have to pay quite a lot of money to use it. So we're just using Claude right now, but Qwen3 Max is definitely the better loop agent compared to Claude right now. And we're just using Sonnet, which is a pretty inexpensive model for testing, but you can add your own models. You can test whatever you want. If you want to use GPT, which I thoroughly recommend against, try it. You can see how shit it is. And then our backtesting model, like we've seen a lot of good success with this 8 billion parameter one, and it's well tested with the platform, and it's much more cost effective for getting pretty good results. We then got like context settings. So we're showing here the agent 5 of the most recent candles in the interval it's looking at the market from. Now I'm going to show you this as it runs in a minute, and you'll see like what this means. We're then giving the agent 10 decisions to its memory, so as it knows what are its last 10 decisions that it's made, so as it can use those decisions to help it moving forward. We're then also giving it a look back window on past trades. We're allowing it to identify candlestick patterns, and we're allowing it to identify swings. So that means like swing high, swing low, so on and so forth. Like it's giving the agent eyes. It's like this allows the agent to read a chart or see a chart. And then under here with these token thresholds, this is just advanced configuration for keeping the agent's memory clean. Because with these kind of infinite loop processes, you can overwhelm the model with a lot of context. So just taking a step back, everyone, like this was built in 7 days. It was built on existing work that I've done over the holiday, which I told you about last week, which built up a good framework. But what you're seeing here is the result of, this is not a couple of hours. This is me and the team working on this 10 to 12 hours a day with a team of agents. I saw a post actually on X the other day, which was really interesting. It was like, don't vibe code everything, vibe code one thing into oblivion. This is what vibe coding something into oblivion is, and compounding value. Down here, you've got some resilience. Like if for any reason, like the LLM fails, which it does sometimes, it sometimes fails. You can have like maximum retries. You can have it continue until all of the retries are exhausted. And then also here, like really critical, like logging errors, because if when you're testing, you get errors, we want to see those, and we may ask you to send those errors back to us so as we can analyze them and improve the product. Okay. I'm going to start the evolution here. Okay, so what is this doing? We can look down here at the logs. So it's initializing the strategy. It's using Anthropic. It's setting all of our risk parameters.
Hey, Brandon, is it possible to zoom in a little just so we can see those
Yeah.
logs populating?
Let me see if I can actually zoom this
Yeah.
up. Unfortunately, I don't think I can.
No
That's
worries.
annoying. Yeah, sorry, guys. Let me just see how it's looking here. Yeah, it's looking a bit fuzzy. I'm really sorry. Yeah, apologies. And it's booting up with all of our variables. It's telling us that data coverage is sufficient, and then it's looking at the market here. It's looking at the volatility, the volume, the trend, which it's identified as a bearish trend. and it's saying like high volatility, consider wider stops and momentum strategies, bearish trend, favor short positions, be cautious with longs. So the orchestrator is defining this as like this the seed, and it's going to create an aggressive Zcash strategy where it's going to enter with these certain conditions. It's going to allocate a certain amount of risk with no more than a certain number of positions, and then it's going to run the back test. You can see it's loading all of the candles. It's also loading best bid and best offer ticks for the asset, which allows the model to simulate slippage in a realistic way for these trades. So it's not just saying that like if a price is hit, you're winning. There are particular parameters in the model that account for slippage, front running, improper order execution. It adds volatility and variance to the execution of trades. So you're not overfitting the trades to the backtest. There is checkpointing, so you can resume sessions if anything crashes, and then it starts to trade. It starts to set risk management, and so we end up going through this backtest. You can see it took a long here, and as we go through the first iteration, you can see we've got a very, 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 very short time frame, so it's going to go through this very quickly. You can see that it's run 3 backtests within the first iteration, and at some point, and hopefully it happens relatively soon, we will see the agent exit from a backtest with a way where it's satisfied, and it will then move to the next iteration and it will start improving. You can see like iteration 1, like we've got backtest 1, backtest 2, backtest 3. You know, it's going to test different strategies. Let me find out where it says. Let's see what its feedback is for itself. Yeah, so now like it's changed it to like, you know, enter long, enter short, what the exit conditions are, like use 1 minute time frame exclusively, ignore all other indicators, new events and market conditions, focus purely on price momentum around the 10 period SMA for maximal signal generation. And as it exits this backtest and goes on to the next iteration, you will see how it takes all of its results from all of this stuff that you're seeing on the screen and uses it to evolve its strategy. I'm trying to find an evolve prompt log to show you because there's just so many logs there. The logs are here for transparency, so as those of you that are testing can kind of, you know, spend time looking at what it's doing so you can understand how it's making decisions. Wow, it's actually doing quite a lot of trading within these time frames, even though it's a very short period of time. So we've done 2 iterations now. Okay, great. So it has advanced to a new iteration. Let me see if I can find the evolve strategy prompt. Wow, being able to search these logs might be a nice feature. I won't add that immediately, but we might add that in the future. Oh, I really wanted to show you guys an evolve prompt strategy. Sorry, an evolve prompt log. Anyways, this will keep chugging through. You can see it kind of going through. It's always monitoring like where the price is within a range, and you can see it like here. You can see the prompt that it used. You can see the trades that it took. You can see the reason behind the trade being killed or not killed. And here we go. You can see the full prompt that it's looking at. Now, you can see where this could go, right? Like we were talking earlier about news events and things like that. In a moment, it will run, and I think I adjusted. Yeah, I adjusted this to. Oh no, I kept it at 50 iterations. I'm meant to change this to 2. So this will just keep going on until it's done all 50 iterations, or until such time as it's found a winning strategy. And when it finds a winning strategy, it will put it into a Monte Carlo simulation, which essentially smooths out the variance of the strategy so you can see exactly how it's trading. See, we're kind of coming out with a best Sharpe of 0.84, which is kind of nice. But that's only with 3 trades. It's likely that the LLM will eventually, or the agent will kind of center itself around this strategy and start tightly iterating around this until it exits. So that's typically the behavior that we see. And once you're done, you get all of your results in history here. You get the results of your back tests that you can see. You can delete them if you want. You can see the prompt. You can copy the prompt, and we're releasing this tomorrow. Like backtest Monte Carlo. These are untested. We've really focused on evolution this week. You can test these, give us feedback as to whether or not these are working very well. And our focus could be getting evolution really nicely humming. And then next week we'll be turning on live trading. So you'll be able to bring your private key from Hyperliquid. You'll be able to put it into your settings. You'll go to history. You'll find a good strategy that you like, or one that's got through Monte Carlo. You can see these Sharpe ratios are not very good. This is because we were running just aggressive strategies that were focused and targeting just win rate and return. We'll have like a bell curve here within here at some point that shows you the distribution of these. And you'll then be able to just, this is the same strategy repeated over and over again to ensure that the agent just didn't have a lucky run. And you can see here that the worst run it had was 7% gain, but again, Sharpe ratio, not that great. Must acknowledge that. All the way up here to 29%. And this particular agent was targeting a greater than 50% win rate and a P&L above 5%. It wasn't doing any targeting around Sharpe. So we're adding a feature where you can tune, like maybe you want to have it trade like crazy. Maybe that's your style, but typically you'll find that they zero in on not over trading and reducing losses. And you'll be able to click a button here, which is start trading, and it will take you through to live. And then you'll be able to deploy your agent or your strategy live on Hyperliquid. After that first version, we're thinking of things like the agent that's actually trading live, evolving the strategy while it's trading. So as many of you will know who have done backtesting before, the biggest problem with backtesting is that when you come to test it in real life, the model breaks or breaks down. Now, forward forecasting or forward modeling is one of the things you would do. But additional to that, you want to be able to have your agent constantly learning from what it's been doing in real time. That is something that we'll be working with in the live environment as well. So as you get a completely harnessed evolutionary agent, we will be releasing some models into a marketplace on the app. And at the moment, we're just, for the first version, we are going to create a lightweight pricing model. We haven't exactly zeroed in on that because we're focused on product, but we will be letting you know what that is. There'll be a low friction way of using your own API key or your own local key to get on for free. But for those of you that want more of a out of the box experience, that's not the advanced experience, you'll be able to pay for like configurations, pay to get access to strategies and things like that. And we're working those things out at the moment. In parallel to going out to the community with you guys, we're also shipping this into some small kind of prop trading funds where they'll be using it internally themselves. And that is the demo of the week. And as soon as we have our public database live, we'll be releasing it on GitHub so as you can all get your hands on it and test it and give us feedback. And then we focus on getting live trading out for you all. That's it.
That was a lot, Brendan.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. Welcome to my world. You know the meme with the guy with the board in the background. I can't remember the actor's name, where he's like going crazy and there's strings. I kind of feel like that guy right now.
For those that would need some additional context, am I right at the upfront you mentioned uh, a more detailed paper outlining what you've built, but also a streamlined and easier to digest potential how-to guide?
Correct.
I don't know if we discussed that, but that's something I think we should definitely do.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, both of those things.
I have a question. There was a lot of inputs and levers you were pushing within the tool. Are all are all of those necessary to input to in order to start using the tool and generating the agent, or or are some of them optional, depending on how detailed you want to get?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm actually also just noticing a bug here, which we'll fix, is that you also have like a chart that shows up here that shows you kind of like your progress over time. And for some reason, that's not showing right now. It was showing last night when I ran this, but I don't know why it's not running, why it's not showing now. But when you actually start your strategy, so I'll stop this right now. You can just set a default. So we'll
That
ship
was
this
it.
with some defaults.
You mentioned default. You did, yeah.
Yeah, so like we'll have like swing default, some simple defaults where you're just going to do this, and then you can kind of observe and look. And as we kind of like grow and we get feedback from you, we'll ship with more and more defaults that are configured in such a way as it kind of matches the use cases and the ideas that you as a community have. But yeah, this is designed to be all singing, all dancing, powerhouse quant. And while it looks complicated now, as we learn more from you, we can simplify it. And then there'll be like a simplified view and an advanced view. But right now, it's just good to give you all of the bells and whistles.
Amazing. And that default will create default settings that you can then tweak and adapt, correct? Like
Correct.
it's not set.
Correct.
Okay, great.
Yeah, correct. That was a lot. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, it is a lot. It is a lot. Yeah, this is why it's not in a web app, because building this kind of system in a web interface is infinitely complex. Like this is already very complex, and the goal here is to give you all institutional grade tools for anyone, and to make those tools completely open and accessible. And if you can download it and run it on your own computer, then no one can take that tool away from you. No one can shut it down. That is fully decentralized, and it takes in a good direction. Like we can see that I can see that there is a way to like integrate the code base with the layer one. So as this interface can become a node on the network. So as you're trading, it's also a node on the layer one. There's so many really great directions that we can go in that fully integrates the experience. And with AI, we are going to see a renaissance of computer based applications, because the native experience within your computer is
Mm.
going to move to AI driven, and browsers are going to die. Yeah, yeah, browsers over our lifetime, will the browser will die. On that note,
So
on that note,
on the note that browsers will die. Thank you everyone for joining us.
oh my god,
As our community manager Doc said, we've been waterboarded by information. I think that's the perfect metaphor. It's my job and Doc's job to package this information up in ways that the, the broader community outside of the more sophisticated traders here can understand and can get involved with. We're going to be building much more in the open, so expect that information to come over the
yeah,
next few weeks. How-to guides, tutorials, strategies, like simple strategies you can deploy alongside the default settings that Brendan will be creating. So a lot more coming here.
yeah. Yeah, and like expect to see, we all live in a bit of a bubble, right? Like we all live in a bit of a crypto bubble being here, but we're also living in a bit of a tech bubble. And like I realize the more I talk to people, the more under a rock I seem like I am, from what we're doing here. Like this is really on the edge. This is really on the fringe. Like there is not many people doing this kind of shit, but you're going to start to see a lot more of this stuff happening. I think people don't realize what the impact of this is more broadly to our daily lives. You can apply this same model to anything we do, like whether it's any output that we provide to the world can be iterated and optimized in this way. And the impact of that is profound to humanity. Um, and I keep saying this to everyone, like it's kind of here today. It just isn't super usable. Like the reason why all these tools are so complicated and like have so many bells and whistles is because it's way easier to ship something like this. It's actually hard. It's hard shipping something like this. It's hard to ship something simple that does what you want. It's easier to ship something with like all of the tuning knobs, so you can all get your hands on it, break it, play with it, yell at us with what's wrong, what's good, what's bad, what's ugly, and then we can synthesize that into a product that anyone can use. And like that's the end state. Like Osiris is saying here, like what's the catch if we develop an agent that updates itself? I mean, the catch is that it puts a lot of people out of their jobs, and that is a reality. What's going to happen with AI, but it's also an opportunity because it gives all of us an opportunity to. I would like to think this is what the future looks like. It's an opportunity for us all to have an army of a thing in our pocket that's working for us while we sleep, and it's really important we all have access to that. It's really important that that is democratized. It's really important that you know anyone can get access to this. That's why we support like the local inference, for example. Like we haven't fully tested to know like what the outputs are like with local Llama 3.1 or with a small quantized model. What we do know is that as the space continues to accelerate rapidly, there are going to be specialist financial models for applications like this, and they will run on computers. They'll run on your desktop. They'll run on your laptop. And what that means is you're free from the system. And like, so long as you have access to this tool and access to a bit of technology, a computer, you can have an army of quants working for you. And that's the goal. Thanks, everyone.
What a great
Wow,
way to end it.
450 people today. Thank you so much. Even though the market is absolute, despite Bitcoin, is generally garbage, be careful, all of you in InfoFi. Take care out there. And we will ship this to you as fast as we can get our dev database up and running, so as you can all use it. And then we're going to move swiftly on to iterating to live trading for the release next week. And the goal will be is to show some actual outcomes on Alpha for everyone next week.
Nice.
And for you to all have got your hands on it.
Thank you, Brendan, for that. It's very exciting. I hate to end it on the annoying disclosure, but this was not financial advice. Trading is inherently risky. These tools are to provide you information and guide you. Thank you, Brendan. We'll be back next week.
Cheers, everyone.
Between then and now, information coming out on our X channel. Thank you all.
Have a great day. Happy Thursday, and see you all in the channels. All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.